We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special notice.
Smooth Productions.
And this is Walter Yeates, and again, I'm coming back and bringing back the Gentleman's Hall podcast. Definitely going to try this out for a bit to see how they're doing and how it sounds, and feedback I get, but yeah, it's good to be back. And for those listening, as you know, probably know that I do quite a bit of writing every week, so I don't get the chance to talk about everything that's going on in the news, and then there's quite a bit going on in the news right now, not just domestically but internationally as well. So I want to talk about some things like that every week, and also want to get into things considering things I'm currently working on, things I care about, interesting discussions, and also I wanted to take this time to talk about some light subjects as well in the next several weeks, and also today. Actually, today might not get into really light subjects today, but next week definitely want to try to work in something fun that isn't heavy-hearted, because if that's one thing I guess we can start with that I've seen all over the news is always everything is slanted towards the negative. I've had editors tell me that they want things slanted to the negative because that encourages more clicks, and sometimes with really clickbait headlines. And I'm not a very big fan of those in the least bit. Not even the slightest bit, actually. So that's one thing. And yeah, of course, I am a journalist. Been a journalist for just over 2 years now. I've also I'm working on a novel as well currently. So I guess that is a little bit of light news in the screenplay. I've actually completed 5 of them, but working on something to tie that into the novel as well. So that's some pretty exciting things I'm working on. And I've also been doing a lot of things, mostly to do with writing, and mostly concerned with the world as a whole. So it's a little background about me for those who don't know much about me, but we'll jump into things now because we're going to try to keep these until around the 30 minute to 45-minute range, just so, don't give you too much at once, and it doesn't take me that much time to do for everyone. But yeah, the first thing I wanted to talk about this week I haven't had a chance to write about, but I've definitely been paying attention to, is this what is being dubbed the tax reform bill, but it's pretty much just a redistribution of wealth upward to people who don't need it in society. Millionaires, billionaires need it. In this specific bill, that's, as we've seen through this week, almost every single Republican that has been on the fence has come to basically say at this point, other than Susan Collins, that they're definitely going to now support the bill after some concessions, which really haven't been really any concessions for anyone, for the most part, other than those who are already well off. So it's a little unfortunate. Also, this tax bill, I'm not going to try to get into too wonky things on this podcast, but this tax bill definitely hurts graduate students who are receiving a stipend for the tuition waived. Will have to pay taxes on all of that, and magically none of the concessions that any on the fence Republican wanted to talk to Mitch McConnell about in the Senate, none of that wasn't on the table. So a lot of students currently in grad school who don't come from wealthy backgrounds are going to have a drastic increase in their taxes, and this is probably on top of the massive amounts of debt, their student loan debt they already have. So we're probably still looking at students with 40 years of debt in front of them. That's unfortunate, especially after the conversations that were had just not that long ago about taxes, and from primary, what we could do to try to change the student loan debt crisis, which is now over. There's more student loan debt than there's credit card debt in the United States, which is absurd to really think about. Look at the data. And another one of the big aspects from this tax quote unquote reform bill is how it's going to be paid for. If it passes the way it is currently right now, which looks like it will, the PAYGO law will come into effect and force $100 billion worth of cuts, like $25 billion coming from Medicare. So it's just not something different at all. So, I mean, this is just not a really a bill that's going to help anyone. There's a lot of people who are worried about this bill coming to law, and it's already been measured that everyone making under $75,000 a year, which is a vast majority of the country, and in a decade, if there's no other changes, their taxes are going to have a drastic increase anyway. So it's really just giving billions of dollars to millionaires, billionaires, and get rid of the state tax goes down, corporate tax goes down. So it's really unfortunate thing that's been going on. So that's one of the things that have been in the news. There's been a lot of talk about, and for those who aren't that politically engaged that are listening or will listen in the future and hear this like that, definitely pay attention to things like this, because you're not going to get the entirety of the details on legacy media, cable news, broadcast news. Probably not going to go that far into it, but these are things that affect every single person in the country, and that just is what it is. And also, moving on to a quick other topic that has been going on this week in the world of politics is the Mueller investigation has been picking up with Michael Flynn. I believe it was earlier today, admitting that he lied to the FBI about his involvement with Russia. There's still a lot of people out there who deny that there was any way Russian government would ever try to influence an election, which is, I don't even quite understand the logic around that, because a lot of the same individuals who say that there's no way that could be done are the same individuals that point to all the instances the United States have done it. I mean, of course, Russia is going to do things they feel are in the best interest of the Kremlin. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a possibility, and now there's definitely a lot of leaks being directed and shown to have been involved with by Russia, where it's becoming apparent that something is going on, and whatever Michael Flynn has said to basically get a deal worked out with Mueller, which that has been the case, is, I don't like to speculate too much, but there's definitely a lot of speculation going around as to what possibly he could have, whether it's dealing with President Trump or someone else. You would have to, I guess the logical conclusion is something to do with President Trump. Who really knows? At this point, Mueller and his team are probably the only people that have any idea. I highly doubt Michael Flynn is taking calls from Donald Trump right now. And it is a little unfortunate that he's a former general, he's a retired general, to see him go through this, but he made his choices, and it's probably not a good idea to ever lie to the FBI instances of national security or foreign involvement in the elections and that those type of processes. That's not in your best interest. He at one point was looking at 60 years behind prison. I was probably looking at 5, which who knows if he'll serve anything or how long he would serve. So, I mean, it's just an unfortunate situation going on, but it is what it is. The interesting part is I'm under no illusion that if Hillary Clinton just ran a intelligent campaign, that she would have defeated Donald Trump in the Electoral College despite involvement from any outside sources. There's never been any muddy grounds from me. Is I'm not a big fan of her politics or how she goes about things, but it's not. It doesn't take much to say that she was a better alternative than Donald Trump. I mean, it's the classic lesser of two evils in certain cases, but Donald Trump has done certain things right now that I'm assuming, well, just by looking at polling data, that a lot of people aren't not happy with it. I'm not going to get into Twitter because I refuse to even speak about that or write about that. Tweets and the things he says to foreign states, heads of state on Twitter, instances with Theresa May recently, the mayor of London, and all that stuff is it's just not what you would expect from the president of the United States. And you can leave it at that. There's no reason for a 1,500-word article about that or a journalistic piece. Can't really do a journalistic piece digging into that. I mean, you can, but there would be no fruit to be bared from anything like that. So I mean that is what it is. Whether he gets impeached from this, again, that would be speculation. I guess if you poll the United States right now, a lot of people probably say yes, he will. Again, it's not my job to speculate. I have no idea. So, yeah, that is what it is. But going to some things that are not directly politics related, since we're going to be here for a bit more, and I wanted to talk more about certain things that I am working on and just other things that are going on in the world. And this week I have published 2 articles on Huffington Post about the Rohingya, I believe I am saying that correct, crisis in Myanmar. The Pope visited. He went on the first papal visit to Myanmar ever for any pope on Monday, and there was a lot of speculation from a lot of sources, and evidently from individuals talking to a number of outlets. Pope Francis was being pushed in the direction of saying the word Rohingya or not, and he ended up not saying it while he was in Myanmar. But today in Bangladesh, he did say it. And for those who don't know, it's a huge humanitarian crisis going on, where the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar are being displaced by the Buddhist majority, and there's been this is really unfortunate to read about and research and see pictures of what these individuals are having to go through, because sometimes it gets lost domestically that everything that's going on in other places that, quite frankly, are not as fortunate as citizens of the United States or individuals living in the United States, working in the United States. A lot of these people are living in huge camps. There's been numbers of deaths, famine. I mean, they don't even have pretty much a citizenship in Myanmar. I mean, it's just so sad, but what's going on there. And there are 2 articles on the Huffington Post profile about that. I spoke to the CEO of a company called Malala World, who they're using blockchain technology to try to set up a way for individuals who are displaced around the world to have the opportunity to be able to communicate and send money to others, and to help non-governmental organizations, NGOs, help in the process of helping displaced individuals around the world, because the displacement rate has been going up severely ever since Syrian civil war and what's going on in Myanmar. So that's technology is being used to do that. I spoke to the CEO. I actually have an interview planned for him sometime in December as well to talk about the situation and how exactly his company is using blockchain technology in order to build these programs, because they're already in a number of countries now, in a relatively new country, and they're trying to spread that around to basically for the sole purpose of helping individuals in these situations. They can be tracked to show that they don't have any kind of terrorist tie-ins, so they can track their actual identification, because a lot of these cases people are forced to leave their homes and they don't have any ID, they don't have any money, they have nothing, no way to prove that they were actually living in the country they were displaced from. And in the case of the Rohingya, and a lot of people, a lot of the majority in Myanmar they weren't given citizenship anyway. It's a really in-depth process there of how they are giving some sort of ID cards and all the kind of situation. I went in depth into it in 2 articles, and it's just this type of technology can definitely help refugees and those displaced in helping them have some sort of life elsewhere. So that's something that I'm looking at, and I think it's extremely important, just to keep people informed of, and to realize that there's definitely other things going on in the world other than just the president tweeting. There's a lot more going on than just that, and yeah, I guess that kind of gets pushed under the rug a bit with everything else that's going on, the chaotic nature of news in the United States. But yeah, I do care about what's going on in the international realm as well, and try to cover that as much as possible. It definitely helps when I get tips to look at certain situations. That's how I came about everything was going on with Rohingya and the Pope going to Myanmar and everything that's going on there. I mean, I could write an entire article about Pope Francis and the uniqueness and controversy he creates on all sides of the political spectrum, for comments he makes, comments he doesn't make, the similarities he has to recent popes and the differences he has with recent popes as well. He's definitely an interesting character, to say the least. At the very least, you can call him an interesting character. Whether you're religious or not, you don't have to. It's completely a-religious, and you don't have to be religious to recognize the importance of a figure like the Pope and Pope Francis, and see how he has changed the position of Pope. I believe, but he still has some things that he's been critiqued on as well, and also going into certain other things. Because as others are aware of, I've also been writing about the most recent, I guess, what you can call as the highlighting of sexual harassment, misconduct, sexual impropriety, and sexual assault, rape that have been going on since the Harvey Weinstein scandal, and everything that's been falling out for that, whether it's Charlie Rose, Matt Lauer, and Louis C.K., everyone else, and even that's been named in this case, Kevin Spacey. Just a lot of names, and just a lot of talk. Terry Crews is a big one. We'll get into him just a little bit. Yeah, I was asked, because earlier in the year I did several articles for Elite Daily about modern-day gentlemen, how to be one, and that's something I care about, to pretty much tear down archetypes of saying this is how you have to be a man. It's mostly directed towards men, young men and young boys, but I don't believe in the whole I don't believe that it's healthy to say, for a society to say that girls and boys and men and women must act a certain way because of their genitalia. Be who you are. Just be who you are. Like what you like. If you like video games and you're a woman, have at it. If you like cooking and you're a man, who cares? Yeah, that's not really exactly journalism, but yeah, I do the columns on that. And I was been asked for a site on Only the Brand Survives to write numerous columns about this. And today I did an interview. For those who don't know, I interviewed Meredith Placco, which actually was published, I believe, several hours before the Harvey Weinstein scandal first broke. And then the reports about what had happened to Rose McGowan was published. So, and I spoke to her about the online nature of bullying and how that affects women in the workplace. I interviewed her about that. That was a great conversation. We actually spoke for probably 3.5 hours, and I believe the interview itself was like an hour and 30 minutes. We spoke for quite a long period of time about the topic, and she was very candid and honest about a lot of things on and off the record. That was a great interview that I had with her. That is up on Huffington Post and YouTube, which I have. I definitely have to get my YouTube game up, but that's kind of partially what this podcast is about, is to do more on YouTube and to do more on YouTube and get the podcast out, just to get things with my name on them out there in those different places and podcasting sites as well. But yeah, back to the topic. Today I had an interview with an individual on the same lines. It wasn't directly about online bullying, but we did talk about a lot that's been going on with the current discussion around Me Too, sexual misconduct, and sexual assault, the differences, and why it's important now to have conversations where everyone gets to speak right now, rather than telling individuals to be quiet. Because I have unfortunately saw some threads where men were wanting to speak about Me Too and certain things they have gone through, and they were told to be quiet because it's not about them, and that's just not the case. For an example is like Terry Crews. He came out about an incident that happened to him where he was groped, and he's actually had to deal with individuals calling him gay as a slur, which is inappropriate, and a lot of things that's not spoken about a lot in the media because it's still taboo is that there's honestly very little differences between white evangelicals and African American evangelicals as far as their political ideologies and beliefs, other than on the direct approach they have with the African American community for obvious reasons. And one of the tenets that I've always seen from African American evangelicals is that the very anti-LGBTQ community, like a lot of white evangelicals, as well as you see with Roy Moore and his current rhetoric around his situation, and he's had to deal with some of that, and I think it's extremely important to allow everyone to talk right now, and if they have a story to share, to listen, and that's kind of what the conversation was today. It was a great interview. I don't know exactly how long it was. I'm going to get that published as well on YouTube, and Huffington Post article around it as well soon. I don't exactly know when. I'm actually quite busy as of late, as you can probably tell. So yeah, that's something that I thought was a great conversation. Yeah, didn't agree on everything, but that's also important. I encourage everyone to challenge their own beliefs and to not be afraid to be wrong and to listen, because I definitely did learn some things from that conversation. by listening, and just having an open mind to just hear, because the most important thing right now is to move forward in a constructive way to try to diminish these type of incidents from happening. And I mean, that's the case. That's the way society has been. No one's perfect, and we're not going to be able to move forward and improve if we don't realize that we all made mistakes. No one's perfect. We all can be better, especially in this situation, men and women. And we need to do that in order to, again, diminish these incidents. And also there was conversation about false accusations and what could happen if a big false accusation comes forward. We also talked about the Washington Post and how they discovered that Project Veritas was trying to create a false fake news story using them around more and more, but they did their due diligence as journalists and quickly found out that the case was false. And they did break off the record conversations, but in that instance, it's understandable as to why. So yeah, we had a great conversation, covered a lot of different things, and I look forward to getting that out there, and I definitely hope to speak to her again as well. Also, I want to speak to more people, men and women, about this, and I'm trying to get a couple more lined up on this subject because I think it's extremely important to talk about and discuss ways to move forward as a society, so again, we can improve and not just sit back and watch what's happening as if it's a movie or a drama, and like a Netflix binge to just wait what happens next or who goes down next. That's not really going to change anything. So yeah, I think that that was a great conversation. I do hope people listen to the interview, read the article, one or the other, preferably both. So yeah, that's also going on. And to wrap up today, actually, a year ago this time, I was actually frantically preparing to go on a journey to Standing Rock, North Dakota. It's been a strange past couple of days thinking about it, just because of how much that trip changed me and how much I haven't said about that trip, and just a lot of things just on my mind about it. What could have happened, what didn't happen, things that I took away from the trip. I'm actually, did want to say here that I'm actually will be writing on Medium about it tomorrow. No money at all. I just want to get some things out there about things I took away from being at Standing Rock. And just the entire situation. I mean, it's definitely meaningful to me. And other than a video I made as soon as I got back into my apartment, I haven't really spoken at all about it. And I'm still contemplating writing an ebook about it as well, just to get it out there, and so people can see why this type of situation is actually extremely important, especially if you do care about the Constitution, clean water, and humanity in general. So, if you have any empathy at all, yeah, you'll take something away from what happened at Standing Rock and the plight of the indigenous people, the first peoples, the Native Americans. So yeah, that's something I will be doing. I'll be probably writing a couple of things on Medium, and I'll keep going there more and writing. Won't even commit to a consistent column, but it's just there. You can read it, easy to find. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to go through today. And yeah, again, I'll be doing a couple of these just to see how I like doing it, and just hear feedback. And but yeah, I do plan in the future to do more light-hearted things to talk about, and from time to time, I will try to have people on in different capacities to record and just have conversations with. Because I think it'll be good to keep the mood light and talk about fun things every now and then. Everyone knows the world's pretty tough. It can be hard at times, and I never begrudge anyone for liking certain things, liking music, liking video games, or whatever you do that takes you away from daily stressors. We all need things like that, and if we don't have them, we're just going to be really stressed, and that's not good. So, again, for all those who have made it to the finish line, I do appreciate it, and I will be back next week to talk more and host Gentleman's Hall. So, thank you very much.